Evan Cohen with you. And Courtney this weekend will be covering the Bears and the Rams. Small's two favorite teams in the NFL. Loves them. Loves them both.
For me.
What a nightmare for you. Who
Seriously,
are you rooting for?
No one.
If you had to have one of these teams win. Now, just to be clear as to why she doesn't like either one of them, she's from St. Louis. Rams left her. She's a Packers fan now. They lost to the Bears, and that's the heated rival. This is a nightmare matchup for you.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable for the rest of us.
I can't cheer for anyone.
Yeah.
You're not going to get me to say that I want either of these teams to win.
So last weekend, when your team blew a 21-3 lead to the Chicago Bears, after the game, there was the whole kind of handshake gate with Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. Ben Johnson is then screaming in the locker room, bleep the Packers, and it becomes a thing, right? Ben Johnson, and Courtney can explain this obviously better than any of us can. Courtney, he has rejuvenated the football fan in that city, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. He reignited the rivalry, the most important rivalry in the NFL, top to bottom. I mean, they've played more than any other team in the regular season, and to finally see the tides shifting here, where it's not just going to be an onslaught of Green Bay wins, I think that's good for the NFL at large. And I think that the Bears, and what Ben Johnson said in doubling down on it, not apologizing for being, some people might say it's vulgar. I'm not really one to, clutch my pearls over anybody swearing in front of a live mic. But I think it's great. I think it's great what he did last week.
So it's now carried over to this week because the Rams and the Bears play, and the head coaches in Green Bay and L.A. are very close friends. Matt LaFleur and Sean McVay work together, most notably in Washington. And McVay had this to say about whether or not he has spoken to Matt LaFleur this week.
What would you guess? No, you know what? We watch the tape, we do our work, and, Matt is a very close friend of mine.
Okay, so I don't know what that means exactly. Courtney, have they spoken this week? You assume yes?
I assume absolutely. When he said, what do you think? I think that clip, I don't know. I felt like there was a little bit more, if you watched the video of it, there was a little bit more interaction with McVay and the media member who asked that question. Because there was some laughter. What do you think? Of course I talked to him. His brother is on his staff, guys.
Mike LaFleur, yeah.
Yep. So there's one LaFleur to another in this game. So, yes, I absolutely believe that Sean McVay, when he says that this guy's like a brother to me, has had conversations with Matt LaFleur being like, dude, what the heck was that last week?
Yeah, let's just think about this from a human nature standpoint. If I suffer an embarrassing loss to my hated rival, and after the game, I had that handshake from Ben Johnson, and I'm watching him scream, bleep them, bleep the Packers.
I hate those guys.
I hate those guys. Me and the owner are on the same page about this. And watch them grate cheese and dunk on you over and over and over again. You're not going to feel a type of way about it? Oh, and guess who you have next? My best friend and my brother's over there? You don't think I'm going to tell them anything that I've learned about you? Oh, yeah, I'm on the phone immediately, and I'm spilling everything that I have.
I'm not sure I want the advice from Matt LaFleur of McVay based on what happened last week.
Learn from my mistakes.
Well, yes.
Don't do this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, Kyle Brandt, Good Morning Football, NFL Network, was on the Rich Eisen Show here on ESPN Radio, noon until 3 Eastern Time, and had an interesting take about this game, specifically with McVay and Ben Johnson this weekend.
Head on a swivel after this game. Now, Bears win. What's Ben going to do? If the Rams win, is there not some that Sean McVay, who I think is the best coach in the NFL, number one, he's been looking at his guy, Matt LaFleur, get dissed? If it's Mikey LaFleur who's watching his actual brother get dissed, is there a drive-by? Is there a terse exchange? Is there a now what's up? Is there anything? Because McVay is wholesome and McVay is all class, and I love McVay. McVay is a super competitive aggro SOB.
You bet.
And I think that there's also a new rooster in the henhouse of the NFC, Ben Johnson. So, there's a game, and then there's a pay-per-view, and it's the Jerry Springer Show back in Chicago, and I can't wait.
That post game is going to be fascinating. I'd be stunned if McVay does anything because Kyle Brandt said it right. He is a class act, right? And go back. He doesn't pretend to be Mr. Tough Guy on the sideline with the other coaches. Go back to the pregame for the Super Bowl against the Patriots years ago. He's bowing down to Belichick. Literally, it was almost uncomfortable how he was.
Yeah, but
too
that's
kind.
Different.
But what I'm saying to you is,
the greatest head coach in the NFL versus a guy who is chirping his best friend and a guy in a staff's brother. So, different set of circumstances.
Understood. Courtney, you cover the Bears. You tell us what happens post-game here. Like, based on the information, based on the knowledge, based on the press conference conversation, what's going to happen post-game in this scenario with this game this weekend?
I don't think it's going to be made as big of a deal, win or loss, between McVay and Ben Johnson as it is with Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. You guys will remember the introductory press conference that happened in January of last year where Ben Johnson said the reason he wanted to stay in the NFC North, Coach of the Year and Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year and Dan Campbell, and oh, by the way, I enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. What you didn't hear is something that happened in a non-camera setting about 30 minutes after that press conference. And Ben Johnson talked about his football journey with us writers. This has not gone many places, so I'm surprised that more people haven't heard about this. So he said, it's all 3 steps I told you about. I was the best in every role as far as I'm concerned. I didn't take any shortcuts. I wasn't a former player that was able to accelerate through this. I went on the long road. I went the hard road. I didn't have a famous last name or dad that got me to where I am today. I had to fail at it. I had to work at it. And along the way, somehow I was able to, despite being on the street, having to hit the reset button, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't have a famous last name or a dad that got me to where I am today. We're making a huge deal about Ben Johnson and the Matt LaFleur beef. Who do you think that's directed at? Matt LaFleur's father didn't coach in the NFL. Mike Shanahan hired all of those guys in Washington. To me, I was stunned that this comment from January 2025 didn't get more traction, because that seems like a major shot at Sean McVay, among others in the NFL, but particularly Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, those guys who had the famous last name, who are a part of the coaching pedigree, the fraternity that protects its own, and he had to fight his way in to get to where he is. That, to me, is more fuel than the Matt LaFleur beef from last week.
So he's an outsider, and he wants everybody to know it. He's like the Dark Knight coming in here, and he's like,
and showing that
the Joker is just
as good as I can do it, just as well as you guys did, and I had to take the hard way to get here.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he was a former player, though. He played college football at North Carolina.
He was a freaking walk-on quarterback at North Carolina. Come on.
I would dream of that.
Okay, congratulations. It's not like he played in the NFL. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, and I think just so people may not know it as much with the Shanahan, McVay's grandfather was an executive in the league for the Giants, and I made the statement that getting him, Smalls, was the biggest win, and I'm not even worried right now about results on the field. You scoffed at that. So what does success look like for the New York Football Giants now?
I don't think they're bringing in John Harbaugh to win them 6 games a year or to get them to a winning record. They're bringing in John Harbaugh because they want to get back to competing for and winning Super Bowls. And you expect that. Maybe not 1 year removed, because the Giants have lost 10 games in 8 of their last 10 seasons. It's been really bad. But he's going there because he has a young quarterback that he feels like can develop into a franchise quarterback. They have, the 6th pick in the draft. From a cap perspective, they can go out there and make some moves. They have financial flexibility in some way. They have a lot of young pieces. And if you're the Giants, you're looking at the Bears and saying they won 5 games last year. Now they're in the playoffs with Caleb Williams. Drake May in year 2 in the playoffs. Jaden Daniel in year 1 went to the Final Four. They're looking at a lot of these young quarterbacks who've gotten paired with the right coach and been surrounded by enough of the right personnel to have success almost immediately. So if you're a Giants fan and you have a young quarterback that you saw flashes of something special with Jackson Dart last year before the injuries crept in for him, and of course a lot of his teammates too, that disrupted his flow. But he's got enough potential that John Harbaugh wants to not only come and be your coach, but is canceling meetings with other teams because he thinks that what is in the building with the New York Giants is enough for him to win.
So how many wins?
Win. What's your time? Are you saying within 1 year? Are you saying in totality?
I mean,
what does year 1 look like? If you're saying that he has to win in year 1, because I agree with you, Michelle. 6 wins seasons aren't going to cut it. It might be rough first, but what does year 1 look like?
I think year 1, if you're, let's say a winning record year 1, you're competitive in the division, that's going to be enough for the first year.
Okay.
But if Jackson Dart is developing appropriately and Giants fans are excited about it, that's not going to last for a long time. Not here in New York, not in this market.
Jackson Dart's development properly is playing 17 games because he doesn't put himself in position to get hurt, to allow himself to develop as a great quarterback. So you're saying better win 9. Let's just put it that way. You're not saying Super Bowl, better win 9. Courtney?
I think that what we've seen with Liam Cohen in Jacksonville, Mike Vrabel in the New England Patriots, and Ben Johnson with the Chicago Bears is that you can't slow play success just because you're a first-year head coach. The 3 of those teams that I mentioned have first-year head coaches, and they're first-year head coaches with the organization, and they're all in the playoffs. Jacksonville's obviously out now, but you have 2 of these teams playing in the divisional round this weekend. There's going to be an expectation that New York reaches that mark. Why shouldn't they? I mean, the Bears were 5-12 last year, and now they rushed their way to an 11-6 finish. The Patriots were 4-13 a year ago, and they won their division, just like Chicago did. You can't expect that John Harbaugh is going to be given the slow play treatment of, okay, give it a year or 2, go through the rebuild process. Shoot, guys, they've been rebuilding for years. You don't draft as high as they do. You don't have first-round picks to spare to go back into the draft and get a quarterback if you're not a bad football team that builds up draft capital because you have a bad record. Like, that's how it happens. And now that the NFC East is on shaky ground, the Eagles aren't the Eagles of old. Who's to say that that division isn't gettable sooner rather than later? You had 3 teams finish with below 500 records, including the Washington Commanders, who we expect there to be major changes because of the major changes on the coaching staff, that team getting back into the mix. The Dallas Cowboys were a 7-9-1 team. They were right there in the mix to try to make some moves. They just fired their defensive coordinator. If you're the Giants, you can't say, okay, yeah, we're going to take a year to get things right. If you've been doing it right, if Joe Schoen is worth his salt and deserving of staying with New York, it's because you've already started to retool those pieces. So when the right head coach, John Harbaugh, gets to your building, he has a runway to take off. And that's ultimately what I think that they are planning to do here with him in 2026.